I never thought a simple text message could shatter 7 years of what I believed was a happy marriage. My phone lit up with Amanda's name, but her words felt like ice. I need to move out to focus on myself. The confusion and pain hit me instantly. Looking back, the signs were there after her sister Natalie moved nearby 2 months ago. Everything changed so fast. If you have ever experienced betrayal from someone you loved, completely drop a like and subscribe. Where are you watching from today? Meeting Amanda was like finding that missing piece I never knew I needed. We met at a barbecue hosted by our mutual friend Jason in downtown Chicago. I was grilling burgers when she walked over and complimented my cooking skills. Her laugh caught my attention immediately, the kind that makes everyone around her smile too. Amanda had these captivating blue eyes that seemed to sparkle whenever she talked about her job as an elementary school teacher. I worked as a financial analyst, and despite our different careers, we connected instantly over our shared love for hiking and classic films. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant where we talked until the staff started cleaning up around us. 3 hours felt like minutes, and I knew there was something special between us. We dated for 18 months before I proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Michigan. The sunrise proposal was perfect, with the orange and pink sky reflecting on the water as she said yes. We got married in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. The following 7 years were genuinely happy. We moved into a modest 2-bedroom house in a nice suburb, started saving for a bigger place, and discussed having children within the next year or two. Our routine was comfortable, filled with Sunday morning pancakes, weekend hikes, and monthly game nights with friends. Amanda would leave little notes in my lunch bag, and I would bring home her favorite chocolates on Fridays. These small gestures kept our connection strong through busy work weeks and occasional disagreements. We complemented each other perfectly. When I was stressed about work deadlines, Amanda knew exactly how to calm me down. When she felt overwhelmed with difficult students, I would run her a bath and take care of dinner. Our marriage was not perfect, but we communicated well and always found our way back to each other after arguments. At least that is what I thought until Natalie entered the picture. Natalie was 3 years older than Amanda, and their relationship had always been complicated. Growing up, Natalie was the high achiever their parents constantly praised, leaving Amanda feeling overshadowed. As adults, they maintained a cordial relationship with occasional visits and holiday gatherings. That changed when Natalie announced her divorce from her husband of 5 years and decided to move to our city for a fresh start. She found an apartment just 15 minutes from our house and immediately became a regular presence in our lives. Natalie was attractive, successful as a marketing executive, and exuded confidence. But there was something about her that made me uncomfortable from the beginning. She frequently made dismissive comments about marriage and men in general. Marriage is just a societal construct designed to benefit men, she would say during dinner at our house. Or, all men eventually show their true colors, usually when it is too late. I tried to be understanding, knowing she was going through a difficult divorce, but her constant negativity was draining. Initially, I maintained a polite relationship with her, making small talk when necessary and giving Amanda and her sister space to reconnect. Amanda seemed genuinely happy to have her sister nearby, and I wanted to support that relationship despite my reservations. Within weeks, Amanda and Natalie established new routines together. Tuesday evenings became yoga class, followed by dinner. Thursdays were designated as sister nights, where they would go to wine tastings or art exhibits. Weekends often involved shopping trips or brunches. I was happy Amanda had company when I occasionally worked weekends. But the frequency of their outings increased steadily until it seemed like Amanda was rarely home. The changes in Amanda were subtle at first. She started wearing more makeup and bought an entirely new wardrobe with Natalie's guidance. Her conservative teacher outfits were gradually replaced by trendier, more revealing clothes. She dyed her natural brown hair blonde and started spending hours at the gym 4 times a week instead of our usual 2-joint workout sessions. These physical changes did not bother me, but the shift in her attitude was concerning. Amanda began talking about concepts like finding herself and exploring life outside the confines of domesticity. These phrases sounded nothing like the woman I married, who had always valued our home life and shared future plans. Her phone became an extension of her hand, constantly buzzing with notifications. When I would enter a room, She would quickly lock her screen or position the phone away from my view. This was new behavior for someone who previously had always been open with her device, often asking me to reply to messages while she was cooking or busy with something else. Most troubling were the subtle criticisms that began creeping into our conversations. My habit of leaving water glasses on the nightstand suddenly became evidence of immaturity. The way I loaded the dishwasher was inefficient and annoying. Even my career ambitions were questioned as lacking creativity and passion. These criticisms confused me because they targeted aspects of my personality and habits that had never bothered her before. It felt as though I was suddenly living with a stranger who found fault in everything I did. The first serious argument about Natalie happened after 3 weeks of her constant presence in our lives. I had come home early from work hoping to surprise Amanda with tickets to a concert by her favorite band. Instead, I overheard her and Natalie talking in the kitchen. "You have settled for such a conventional life," Natalie was saying. "Look at me. Since leaving Brian, I feel liberated. You are still young. You do not need to be tied down to suburban mediocrity forever." When they noticed me standing in the doorway, Natalie smiled thinly, while Amanda looked uncomfortable. After Natalie left, I expressed my concerns about her influence. "I am worried about how much time you are spending with Natalie," I said carefully. "Some of her views on marriage seem to be affecting our relationship." Amanda's reaction was immediate and intense. Her face flushed with anger as she slammed her hand on the counter. "So now I am not allowed to spend time with my own sister," she demanded. "This is exactly what Natalie warned me about. You are trying to control who I can see and what I can do." "That is not what I said," I responded, stunned by her outburst. "I just think Natalie is projecting her divorce issues onto our marriage." "Our marriage is not perfect, Dwight," she shot back. "Maybe I have been suppressing my own needs for years to make you happy. Natalie is just helping me see that." The argument escalated from there. Amanda accused me of being unsupportive during this important reconnection with her sister. I pointed out the dramatic changes in her behavior since Natalie arrived. Words flew like weapons across our usually peaceful living room. "You never wanted me to have a life outside of being your wife," she shouted. "That is completely untrue," I countered. "I have always supported your friendships and interests. This is different. Natalie is actively trying to create problems between us. You are jealous of my relationship with her because she sees through your act," Amanda responded coldly. The fight ended without resolution. For the first time in our marriage, Amanda took her pillow and blanket to the guest room, saying she needed space. I lay awake all night replaying the argument and wondering how we had reached this point so quickly. My worries deepened the following week when I used Amanda's laptop to pay our utility bills, something I routinely did. A Facebook Messenger window was open, showing a conversation between her and Natalie. My eyes caught a line that made my stomach drop. "He does not deserve you, Amanda. You could do so much better." I did not read more, feeling guilty for the accidental invasion of privacy, but that single line haunted me. What had I done to deserve such dismissal from Natalie? And more importantly, was Amanda agreeing with her? Another disturbing discovery came when I tried to transfer funds from our joint savings account for a home repair. The password had been changed. When I asked Amanda about it, she casually mentioned she had updated it for security reasons, but would share it later. She never did, despite multiple reminders. The most unsettling incident occurred when I decided to surprise Amanda for lunch at her school, something I occasionally did. Her secretary informed me she had taken the day off. Confused, I called her cell, but it went straight to voicemail. Later that evening, I saw an Instagram post from a mutual friend showing Amanda and Natalie at a restaurant downtown sitting with an unfamiliar man who had his arm casually draped over the back of Amanda's chair. When I mentioned seeing the post, Amanda dismissed it as just lunch with one of Natalie's work colleagues. Our social circle began to change as well. Friends we had known for years suddenly became unavailable or awkward around me. During a golf game, my friend Thomas seemed ready to say something several times but stopped himself. When I directly asked if everything was okay, he just patted my shoulder and said, "Hang in there, buddy." It felt as though everyone knew something I did not like. I was the last person to realize my marriage was in trouble. Despite the growing distance between us, I was determined to save our relationship. I suggested marriage counseling, thinking a neutral third party might help us navigate this difficult period. Amanda immediately rejected the idea. "We do not need some stranger telling us how to fix our marriage," she said dismissively. "I just need time to figure some things out." As our 7th anniversary approached, I planned a weekend getaway to the bed and breakfast where we had spent our honeymoon. When I presented the reservation to Amanda, she looked genuinely pained as she told me she could not make it. Natalie had already planned a sister's weekend at a spa during those dates, and she could not cancel without losing the deposit. I finally initiated a heart-to-heart conversation about the state of our marriage. We sat at our kitchen table one evening after dinner, and I laid everything out, my observations about her, changes, my concerns about Natalie's influence, and my fear that we were drifting apart. "I love you, Amanda," I said, fighting back tears. "But it feels like you are slipping away, and I do not know how to reach you anymore." To my surprise, Amanda also began to cry. For a brief moment, I saw glimpses of the woman I had married as she reached for my hand across the table. "I am sorry, Dwight," she said quietly. "I know things have been strange lately. I promise I will try harder. I just need to work through some personal stuff." That night, for the first time in weeks, she slept in our bed again. I felt cautiously optimistic that we had turned a corner. But the next morning, she was back to being distant, and by evening, she was out with Natalie again. Her promise to try harder manifested in small gestures like a homemade dinner here or a cuddly movie night there, but these moments felt performative rather than genuine. Something fundamental had shifted, and I could not shake the feeling that she was just going through the motions while planning something else entirely. The text message arrived on a Tuesday afternoon while I was in a meeting at work. My phone vibrated against the conference table, and I glanced down to see Amanda's name. Thinking it might be something urgent, I excused myself to check it. "Dwight, I need to tell you something important. I have been doing a lot of thinking about my life and what I want. I need to move out to focus on myself and my personal growth. This is not about you, but about me needing space to figure out who I am outside of our relationship. I will be staying with Natalie for now, and will contact you about arrangements for my things." I stood frozen in the hallway, reading the message repeatedly, as if the words might somehow change. 7 years of marriage reduced to a text message about personal growth and space. My hands shook as I leaned against the wall trying to process what was happening. Colleagues passed by, but I barely registered their presence. The office bathroom became my refuge as I splashed cold water on my face and tried to gather my thoughts. The reflection in the mirror showed a man I barely recognized, pale and shell-shocked. I called Amanda, but my call went straight to voicemail. I texted asking if we could talk in person, but received no response. I left work early, driving home in a daze. The house felt eerily quiet when I arrived. Opening our bedroom closet confirmed what I already suspected: many of Amanda's clothes were gone. Not everything, but enough to indicate this had been planned. A quick check revealed other missing items throughout the house, including her grandmother's jewelry box, important documents, and some family photos. The calculated nature of her departure became even clearer when I discovered she had already removed her name from our cable and internet accounts. She had been preparing for this exit for weeks while pretending everything was normal. The betrayal cut deeper than the separation itself. The next day, my friend Jason called and asked to meet for a drink. His uncomfortable expression told me he had information before he even spoke. "Look, man, I did not want to be the one to tell you this," he began hesitantly. "But Amanda has been planning this move for a while. Sarah overheard her and Natalie discussing it at girls' night 3 weeks ago. Apparently this whole finding herself thing was Natalie's idea. She convinced Amanda that she married too young and missed out on living her life. The revelation that our mutual friends knew about Amanda's plans before I did felt like another knife in my back. But worse was yet to come. "There is something else," Jason continued reluctantly. "Sarah said Amanda mentioned meeting with a divorce lawyer last week. She was asking the other women about what they knew regarding your finances and investments. That information sent me into investigation mode." A quick call to our bank confirmed Amanda had withdrawn $5,000 from our joint checking account the previous day, nearly emptying it. I also discovered she had requested copies of all our tax returns going back 5 years. The final piece fell into place when I ran into Natalie at the local coffee shop. Rather than avoiding me, she approached my table with an almost triumphant expression. "Amanda is finally taking control of her life," she said without preamble. "You should let her go gracefully. This was your plan all along," I responded, keeping my voice level despite my anger. "You never gave our marriage a chance." Natalie shrugged, unrepentant. "I helped my friend Diane see the light about her husband last year, too. Some men just hold women back." She looked at me with cold eyes. "Amanda deserves half of everything you have, including that inheritance you received last year. She has already talked to a great lawyer." My inheritance had come from my grandfather before Amanda and I were married. It was in a separate account that had never been commingled with our joint funds. The fact that she was targeting it revealed the true nature of this finding herself narrative. After that conversation, I made a critical decision. Rather than begging Amanda to reconsider, I would protect myself while appearing supportive of her choice. I responded to her original text with, "I understand completely. This is a smart decision if you feel you need to grow individually. I support your journey and wish you clarity." My seemingly accepting response was strategic rather than sincere. Within hours of sending it, I contacted a lawyer specializing in divorce cases. Under their guidance, I gathered documentation proving my inheritance was separate property. I also collected evidence of my premarital assets and contributions to our home purchase. The lawyer advised me to secure the house and any valuable or irreplaceable items. That evening, I changed the locks and installed a simple security camera at the front door. I moved important documents and family heirlooms to a safe deposit box. I also transferred my personal funds from our joint account to a new individual account, leaving enough to cover any household bills. My lawyer helped me draft a fair separation agreement that protected my assets while offering Amanda a reasonable settlement. It was nothing like the windfall she might have been expecting based on Natalie's guidance, but it was fair according to state law. Within 48 hours, I had shifted from shocked victim to someone taking control of a difficult situation. While the emotional pain remained intense, having a plan provided some sense of stability. I even consulted a therapist to help process my feelings of betrayal and loss, determined not to let this experience destroy me. Exactly 1 week after her text, Amanda showed up at our house unannounced. The security camera notification pinged on my phone, showing her trying her key in the lock repeatedly. I watched via the app as confusion, and then anger crossed her face when she realized the locks had been changed. After several minutes of knocking and calling my name, she finally called my phone. "Why are the locks changed?" she demanded when I answered. "I need to get more of my things." "I can meet you there in 20 minutes. I replied calmly. "I had to secure the house after you moved out." When I arrived, Amanda was sitting on the front steps, looking nothing like the confident woman who had declared she needed space. Her eyes were puffy from crying, and she seemed smaller, somehow more vulnerable. For a moment I felt the urge to comfort her, a reflex from years of being her husband and partner. But I reminded myself of her calculated exit and steeled my resolve. I opened the door and gestured for her to enter. "You mentioned needing more of your things. I can help you carry whatever you need to your car." She stepped inside, looking around as if seeing our home through new eyes. "It feels different in here." "That happens when someone moves out," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Instead of heading to collect her belongings, Amanda sat on the couch and looked up at me with tears forming. "Dwight, I think I made a mistake. These past few days have been awful. Maybe we could talk about working things out." The abrupt shift from "I need space" to "let us work things out" within just 1 week raised immediate red flags. I remained standing, maintaining physical and emotional distance. "What changed?" I asked simply. "I miss you. I miss our life," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. "Staying with Natalie has made me realize how good we had it." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer confirming our appointment the following day to review the separation agreement. The timing seemed almost orchestrated by fate. "Amanda, you left without any real conversation. You planned your exit for weeks behind my back. You consulted a divorce attorney before even telling me you were unhappy. What exactly are we supposed to work out?" Her expression changed surprise, replacing the tears. "How did you know about the lawyer?" It does not matter how I know. What matters is that you were planning to take half my inheritance money that was never part of our marital assets. The doorbell interrupted our conversation. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I saw Natalie standing on the porch, arms crossed impatiently. I opened the door to find her looking annoyed. "What is taking so long?" she demanded, pushing past me. When she saw Amanda sitting tearfully on the couch, her expression hardened. "What is going on here?" "We have an appointment with the realtor in an hour." "Realtor?" I asked, looking between the sisters. Amanda at least had the decency to look ashamed. "We were just going to look at options in case. In case your plan to take half my assets worked out," I finished for her. Natalie stepped forward, her previous friendly facade completely gone. "Amanda deserves a fresh start with financial security. You cannot expect her to walk away with nothing after supporting your career for 7 years." "Supporting my career," I repeated incredulously. "We supported each other. And she was never walking away with nothing. But there is a difference between a fair division of marital property and trying to claim money that was never part of our marriage." I turned to Amanda, who was now looking everywhere but at me. "I have an appointment with my lawyer tomorrow to review a separation agreement. It divides our actual marital assets equally, which is fair. If you would like to review it with your own legal counsel, that would be appropriate." Natalie scoffed. "That is not how this works. She gets half of everything." "That is not how the law works." I corrected her. "And this conversation should be between Amanda and me." To my surprise, Amanda finally stood up and faced her sister. "Natalie, can you wait in the car? I need to speak with Dwight alone." After Natalie left reluctantly and with obvious disapproval, Amanda's composed facade crumbled. "This was not supposed to happen this way," she said quietly. "You were supposed to beg me to come back, not change the locks and call a lawyer." The admission confirmed everything I had suspected. This had been a power play, a way to gain leverage in extracting maximum financial benefit while keeping the option to return if things did not work out as planned. "I loved you completely," I told her, my voice steady, despite the pain behind my words. "But you threw away 7 years based on your sister's bitterness and some misguided idea that you could do better or get more. What you have done is not just leave Amanda. You betrayed my trust in the most fundamental way." 3 days later, we met with our respective lawyers. To the obvious disappointment of Amanda's attorney and Natalie, who insisted on being present, the evidence of my separate property was irrefutable. My lawyer had also documented Amanda's attempts to access those funds, which significantly weakened her position. The final agreement was fair, but not the windfall she had anticipated. She received half of our actual marital assets, including equity in the house which I bought out. Her attempts to claim more were firmly rejected by the mediator based on the documentation I had provided. What surprised me most was the reaction from both our families once they learned the full story. Amanda's parents, who had always treated me like a son, were deeply disappointed in her behavior. They actually called to apologize, explaining that Natalie had always had a talent for manipulation, and they should have warned me when she moved to town. My parents offered their full support, both emotionally and practically. My mother came to stay for a week, helping me reorganize the house and providing the comfort only a parent can give. My father, always a man of few words, simply said, "You handled this with dignity, son. I am proud of you." The divorce was finalized 4 months later, much faster than the typical process due to our lack of children and the clear documentation of assets. Amanda moved to another state with Natalie shortly afterward, a final indication that her claims of wanting to work things out had been tactical rather than sincere. The first few months alone were the hardest. I would wake up reaching for someone who was no longer there. The house felt too quiet, too empty. I lost weight, slept poorly, and struggled to focus at work. The betrayal hurt more than the loss itself. The knowledge that the person I trusted most had been calculating my financial value rather than cherishing our relationship. Gradually, though, I began to rebuild. I joined a hiking group to get out of the house on weekends. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage, especially those who had tried to warn me about what was happening. I focused on advancing my career and eventually accepted a promotion that had been offered earlier, but that I had hesitated to take because Amanda had not wanted me to travel more. 8 months after Amanda's text message, I ran into her cousin Michael at a local baseball game. After an initially awkward greeting, he shared that Amanda and Natalie had had a falling out. Apparently, Natalie had used the same playbook on another friend, convincing her to leave her husband for financial gain. When that plan backfired similarly, the friend blamed Amanda for the introduction to Natalie, exposing the pattern to their social circle. Michael also mentioned that Amanda had expressed regret about how she had handled our separation, though she had not gathered the courage to reach out directly. I appreciated his honesty, but realized I felt nothing beyond a distant sympathy for her current situation. The intense pain had faded, replaced by valuable lessons about self-worth and boundaries. I learned that being kind does not mean being a doormat. I discovered the importance of protecting yourself even in the most intimate relationships. Most importantly, I realized that my value as a person was never tied to someone else's perception or approval. Today, 18 months after that text message, my life looks entirely different. I sold our house and bought a new place closer to downtown. I have made new friends and even cautiously started dating again. Each day gets a little easier, a little brighter. For anyone going through something similar, remember that the initial pain does not last forever. You will find your footing again, perhaps standing taller than before, because you know your own strength. Has anyone else discovered unexpected strength after betrayal? Leave a comment below with your story. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to help others find this channel. Share with someone who might need to hear that surviving betrayal is possible. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the end of one chapter is exactly what you need to write a better story for yourself.